Good day, everyone. I am Michael, the moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone for today's webinar, which is 2024 HIPAA Texting and Email Do's and Don'ts. I want to introduce our presenter for today, Brian L. Tuttle. Brian L. Tuttle is a Certified Professional in Health IT, CPHIT, Certified HIPAA Professional, CPH, Certified HIPAA Administrator, CHA, Certified Business Alliances Auditor, CPRA, Certified Information System Security Professional, CISSP, with over 17 years of experience in health IT and compliance consulting. Mr. Tuttle has a master's degree in the study of law from University of Georgia and operates nationally out of Swainsboro, GA. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Brian.
Thank you very much. What we're going to be talking about today as we discuss texting, emailing, the types of viruses and tricks that can be born from emailing, personal device uses, things of that nature, of course, fall under the HIPAA security rule. So let's get started here. A little bit of background about HIPAA. HIPAA, as you know, is an acronym, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. We deal with the privacy rule, the security rule, and the breach notification rule. What's the difference in privacy and security? The privacy rule deals with protected health information in any form, paper, electronic, verbal. The privacy rule is very analytical. The security rule, though, it deals only with electronic protected health information. The security rule is not analytical. It's abstract. Privacy defined as the right of an individual to keep his or her individual health information from being disclosed. This, again, it applies to all PHI. All PHI. The security rule, mechanisms to protect the privacy of electronic protected health information. So privacy encompasses all PHI. Security rule is broken down into three pieces. Administrative safeguards. Like I said, this isn't all about technology. Administrative safeguards, physical safeguards, and technological safeguards. Those are the three pillars on which the security rule stands. Over the last 2 years, we've had more breaches of electronic protected health information than the entire history of the regulation times 10. So let's talk about the final omnibus rule of 2013. After the omnibus rule, that's when true enforcement started to happen, equals the burden between business associates and covered entities. So historically, this has been benign, no consequences for actions in most cases, more of a nuisance. Audits have begun in earnest, big, small, short, and tall, does not matter size and scope, we are all at risk. Could we be fined for violations even if a breach doesn't occur? Yes. A business associate could be as small as one person. A business associate could also be Apple or Microsoft or Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, your EMR vendors. So they can be very, very large organizations too. Essentially, individuals or entities that create, receive, maintain, or store PHI on behalf of a covered entity or another business associate in some cases. Business associates must conduct their own HIPAA security risk assessments. Business associates, and this is important to understand, yes, the federal government is enforcing the law a lot more than in the past. Let's talk about what is PHI. What is protected health information? The MAC address of the network card on your computer. Even old information can be considered PHI, like your old phone number, your old address, your old driver's license number. So what constitutes a breach? That would be any impermissible use or disclosure of PHI. It is presumed to be a breach with a requirement to notify the patient or patients unless we can demonstrate there's a low probability anything's been compromised. Now, if there is a breach or suspected breach, we need to have the proper documents in place to investigate what happened, what was the nature and the extent of the PHI. A few common HIPAA violations. Okay, let's talk specifically about email. We're going to talk first about using email to transmit medical information. Then we're going to talk about the dangers of email, because we can't not talk about that. Can you use email to transmit medical information? Absolutely. Yes. Does HIPAA permit us to use email to discuss treatment issues with patients and other providers for that matter? Yes. An individual also has a right under HIPAA to request a provider communicate with him or her by alternative means or at alternative locations if reasonable. I'm going to pull out a couple of the standards from the HIPAA security rule. We're going to look at what the standard says. The very first standard, security management process. So how do we apply reasonable and appropriate due diligence to emailing? Let's go all the way down to the 18th standard, the last standard, by the way. Transmission security. So integrity controls. This is the first implementation specification under transmission security. I think you should encrypt PHI when you transmit it outside your domain. Cyber threats. It's impossible to talk about email and not talk about the cyber threats that are born from email. You're going to educate your staff on cybersecurity threats. Now, phishing, P-H-I-S-H-I-N-G. Phishing, you know what this is. These are fake emails. These are emails that look like they come from Amazon or Apple or PayPal or Microsoft, whoever, trying to trick you into clicking on a link that's embedded in that email, either through a sense of urgency, a threat, or maybe even an enticement. Ransomware. Ransomware is the #1 way data is breached in the world. It's obviously also the #1 way medical records are breached and health information. Ransomware comes usually through the fake phishing emails. But the problem is OCR made this official in 2019. A ransomware attack, if it attaches to unencrypted PHI, is a reportable breach. If the data is already encrypted, it would not be a breach. So here's the bottom line. Do not put any protected health information into folders on your desktop. Shouldn't be doing that anyway. Let's talk about use of personal devices, BYOD. A lot of positives of using personal devices. Provides flexibility, streamlines communications, increases productivity because you're familiar with your device, saves you a lot of money, allows for easier teleworking. The negatives. So if you are going to allow personal device use, you need to have a personal devices policy. We want a personal device to be nothing but a conduit. No PHI to be written. That's going to be in policy. You can use your personal device for your second factor in multi-factor authentication. Educating staff on appropriate apps and software as well as cyber threats. The better educated your staff is on common cybersecurity threats, the less likely they are to be compromised even when using their own device. A little bit more on mobile devices real quick. So although PHI maintained on electronic devices owned by a covered entity would be protected from disclosure by HIPAA, your #1 compliance worry with personal device is theft, portable device and personal device. Encrypt them. There's a pretty stout prohibition on texting now. Biggest HIPAA violation there is texting. Unsecured texting PHI. I am a proponent of texting if it's done appropriately. Do not text appointment reminders if you are in a sensitive type of practice. When you email inside your own domain, you don't need to encrypt. We are not expected to be perfect. This is a principles-based regulation. We're expected to follow these standards, and most of these standards are common sense. I say this all the time. This is really important, especially now. Don't be reactive. Don't be in a reactive state. Be proactive. Yeah, I think I touched on everything that I wanted to get to here, and I hope you guys enjoyed that for as much as you can enjoy a hour and a half on HIPAA. But anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the day, and with that, I will end the webinar.
Once again, thank you, Brian, for the great presentations and all the answers. So that does conclude the session for today. Thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now. Have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.